Super Mario Brothers hoodie today. I bought this back when I was still giving money to Nintendo and I haven't had much of a chance to wear it. So, yeah, what do you think? Kind of looks nice on me, I think. Yeah. Welcome to NintenDeen today. I actually made that voice with my mouth that time. I didn't use the audio clip. So I don't know if you guys struggle with this as much as I do, but trying to recommend a handheld gaming PC for somebody to buy is very hard. I think it started off pretty easy. You just tell them get a Steam Deck. That's why like everybody just tells you, hey dude, just buy a Steam Deck. Just buy a Steam Deck. That was easy for a very long time because there were really no other alternatives. Nothing worth it anyway. But now there's a couple of problems. First of all, there's a lot more competition. There's more things out there available that can provide what a Steam Deck provides and even better potentially. There are different levels to the Steam Deck family itself. And perhaps the most difficult part of all of this is that Valve is no longer selling the cheapest version of the Steam Deck, the LCD model. So it's hard for me to just look at somebody and be like, look, if you're not looking to spend money and you don't want to think about it, just go buy a Steam Deck. It's not as easy anymore, in my opinion. But part of the reason why this is so difficult is because I'm new to the PC gaming world, and I'm also speaking to people that are used to having consoles. They're not usually PC owners. I mean, even this desktop that I'm using right now, I had to ask people on this channel to recommend everything for me, and I had to cross-reference it with one of my friends that's really good with computers, and I had to go to Micro Center, and the guy over there helped me build it. And even then, I probably got ripped off and spent more than I needed to. I didn't know what I was doing, but at the same time, I needed something powerful enough to run YouTube, not just for gaming. I think I got to a good spot in the end. I don't think I overpaid by that much. But the amount of hoops that I had to jump through in order to make sure I got something that fit my needs without overspending, and I probably still might have slightly overspent, was very difficult. And it's because when you're buying a PC in general, it's all about scalability. Scalability of power, scalability of pricing, and you got to find a way to land in a location that you want to be in, that you're most comfortable with at the right price point. Because for some people, it's not just about setting a specific budget. It's about not overspending and figuring out how much more you're getting out of it if you do spend the extra money. I've honestly dealt with this in my own circles, not even in the YouTubing world. You know, I got my circle of friends. We all used to play Mario Party mostly for the past few years online. Mario Kart comes in and out of it. We were big NSO guys, so we'd jump on, we'd play something, and we'd enjoy it. After Mario Party Jamboree, we kind of got burnt out a bit, and then with the Switch 2 launching, nobody really wanted to spend $500 on that console. I shouldn't say nobody, because a couple of people did, but they've since sold their Switch 2s because they didn't find it was worth it. But that's besides the point for now. You know, so eventually last year I did buy this desktop. I kind of got used to having a Steam library, but also more importantly, I got used to emulation. I got used to playing a lot of classic games, not just in the Nintendo world, but across every console that I want to get into. And that kind of led me into looking into the handheld gaming PC world. Not because I necessarily wanted to play something at home. I mean, I can play just right here on my desk if I want to. But because I noticed, like, when I was going to my friend's house, in the past, I would just take my little travel bag, put my Switch and all the controllers in there, then we'd go over there and we'd have everything available. But obviously, with my desktop, I can't lug it around with me. So I got the Legion Go, and I got a pretty cheap dock just to make my gaming library a lot more mobile. And then you know how it goes. You show up with the Legion Go, somebody gets their hands on it, they try it out, they're like, oh, this is really fun. Where can I buy one of these? And I'm like, it's kind of difficult because you missed out on all the Black Friday deals. And the other thing is, I know that the people that I'm speaking to might not necessarily want as much as I do out of the device that they purchase. So I'll give you an example. Something that was very important to my cousin is he wanted to be able to play Rocket League on there, but he also didn't want to spend too much money. So he ended up buying a Steam Deck right around Black Friday, where he was able to get it for pretty cheap, because I think PayPal even had like the deal where they provided 20% off. So he got it for less than $300 brand new off of Valve, or off the Steam store rather. But the problem is, Rocket League is not a Steam game anymore. You have to use the Epic Game Store to buy it. So you got to download a whole separate launcher to get it to work. And then when you download the launcher, if you're using Steam, sometimes the controller doesn't pick up. And the workaround for that is to open up the launcher in desktop mode so that the controller can work. And then now you're stuck. You might have like the bar on the bottom. The taskbar might not move. It's something that like you kind of have to work with a few times to get used to until you get comfortable playing it. Now, for me, I don't mind that. I felt that with my desktop. I felt that with my Legion Go. Anytime I've gotten something new, I'm like, okay, I got to spend some time initially setting it up, but in the long term, it's worth it. But I like to tinker. I like to mess with these things. My cousin, you know, he got the Steam Deck. He's playing the emulators. He has a lot of emulators on there, some ROMs on there. He's playing some classic games that he enjoys. But when we play Rocket League, he's going back to his Switch. And he hates playing on the Switch. That was a big reason why he bought the Steam Deck in the first place. And he's like, yeah, just, you know, when you get a chance, figure it out for me, and then we'll work to it together and he'll play it. Because he doesn't want to spend the time and effort to figure it out. He just wants to pick up the thing and play. And like, mind you, even with his emulators, the only reason all that's working for him is because I set it up for him. I spent a few hours on my desk just like making sure everything was good to go so he can pick it up and he can play online with me too, not just by himself. And the thing is, these type of obstacles are almost always in the way when you're somebody who's trying to get into PC gaming. Even if it's a Steam game and you're playing it on a PC, you might have to tweak it a little bit just to get it to run in the most optimized manner, right? Because if you paid the money for the hardware, you want it to run as best as it can in the best quality as well as the best performance. So that means you might have to shift around a little bit and screw around with the settings. And again, not everybody wants to do that. And sometimes it's not just a simple slider. Sometimes you turn off this and uncheck that box. And it could be very intimidating for console gamers to get into that kind of thing. But the thing is, that's the biggest benefit of console gaming. It's without a thought. You plug it in, you turn it on, you're good to play. Nowadays, it's more like you plug it in, you turn it on, and you wait an hour for an update, depending on how long it's been since you turned it on and how fast your Wi-Fi is. But still, after that's all downloading, you don't got to do anything extra. For the most part, you can just play the game that you want to play, no matter what the console is. And that's a huge benefit, and it's something that I think PC gamers tend to completely ignore. But that's a very big reason why they love the Steam Deck so much, and SteamOS in general, because most of the stuff is ready to go right out of the box. So I'm kind of going in circles right now, but if you're strictly looking at the Steam library and you just want to buy games off of the Steam library and you're not interested in emulation, you're not interested in opening other launchers to play different type of PC games that are not necessarily on Steam, the Steam Deck is still a great purchase. It's a very easy one with zero thoughts. And I would say even in addition to that, the new Legion Go S that runs the Z2 Go chip, I think it's a little bit of a weaker one. If you can get that on a deal, and I think they were pretty cheap on Black Friday for less than $500, those are also very good options just because they run everything straight off of SteamOS. But it's when you get to the tinkering, that's when it can kind of get a little bit more confusing. And that's a very big reason why I haven't been able to recommend a specific device to somebody, just because it depends on what the deal is that's available. It depends on what you want out of the device. So my brother, for example, he's like, oh, like I want to get one of these handheld PCs. But the main reason he wants to get one is because he wants to play old games on there. He wants to play online, either, emulation with us, play some of the old Nintendo 64 games that we can't play online anymore. Whether it's Diddy Kong Racing, Conker's Bad Fur Day, actually we used to play Beetle Adventure Racing. There's all these different games that we can emulate and play together. Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey is another big one that we used to play as a kids. So I was telling him, I'm like, I don't think you need a PC. I think we can accomplish what he wants out of just a regular Android emulator. Now, we haven't gotten into that yet because we haven't done that much research on it. But also at the same time, we're thinking, if we can find something used for cheaper, like our ROG Ally, for example, not the Xbox one, the one from last year that's a Z1 Extreme. There's some available online for like $300. I'm like, at that point, you might as well just grab one of those if you're just going to be emulating. Although the battery on that might not be as good, but see, that's the thing. There's always these different little details that you have to think about when you're buying this for somebody. I will say my nephew, no PC, doesn't have a desktop or anything. He runs like a single laptop that he's had for school for the past 3-4 years. He's in high school. He recently got an Xbox Ally, not the expensive one, the cheaper one. And he absolutely adores it. This guy's like a PlayStation kid. Initially, when I told him about it, I was like, yo, I think this might be a good purchase because it was available on a very good deal at the Best Buy that was near him, open box. I believe he got it for less than $400. And so I said, worst case scenario, you buy something open box from Best Buy, you try it out for a month and you can return it. Like that was kind of the logic there. And he wasn't feeling it, but largely he was against it because he didn't like the idea of owning an Xbox. Because, fanboy stuff because he's a PlayStation kid. So I explained to him like very thoroughly. I'm like, this is not an Xbox. It was made by Asus. They had one last year that was actually pretty good, arguably better than the current one, especially the white model. I was like, buy it, see how you feel after 1 month, and then let me know. And, within 3 or 4 days, he's like, this thing's phenomenal. He loves it. He plays all of the games that he wants to play on there. He does remote play for his PlayStation 5 as well when he needs to. There's no limitations because the games he likes to play are not limited to SteamOS. He likes to play the Epic Game Store stuff. I just mentioned Rocket League. He has to play Fortnite as well. And at the same time, he bought Spider-Man. He bought a few other games that he wants to play on there, whether through Steam or otherwise. And I believe he got 3 months free of Game Pass. He started downloading and messing around with games on there too. So he felt right at home with that device. And he told me specifically, he's like, I liked the software that it was based off of, which, it's Xbox Full Screen Experience, I believe is what the new one is called. That's what gets the desktop to be a little bit easier to navigate for gamers nowadays. But in addition to that, he's like, when I want to download additional stuff, so if he wants to mess around with different settings, if he has different ROMs he wants to play and emulate something, if he wants to download a fan game, he wants to use some kind of a hack, he's like, it's very easy for me to switch to desktop mode and it's very comfortable for me to use because he's only ever used a Windows device, right? That's the laptops that he's had has always been Windows. I found the same thing. I found SteamOS. It's not that it's a bad OS, it's just that I've been using Windows for 30 years. So the adjustment to learn how to use Linux and SteamOS, yeah, that's not as easy as you would expect without putting the time and effort into it. And genuinely, I believe that if I did put the time and effort into figuring out how to use Linux, and especially how to be very comfortable with SteamOS, I'm sure I will walk out of it being like, this is much better than the Windows experience. But again, it's about that comfort and that lack of a need to figure out how to use something new. But look, ultimately, part of the reason I even want to have this discussion is because a lot of you have asked me, like, what kind of handheld gaming PC do you want? Why do you recommend a Legion Go? Where were you able to find it for the price that you got it? Right? It's not very easy to answer that question without knowing the person that you're speaking to, unfortunately. And that's why so many people find it's just better to buy a Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch or a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. A lot of times with these gaming devices, it's about the research that you want to put in. So for me to find what I wanted to buy, YouTube. I jumped on there. I said, hey, like, what's the Asus ROG Ally? Right? And I watched some videos on that. Eventually, I saw some people in the comments being like, well, why wouldn't you just buy a Legion Go? So I started searching that. And then I started searching the differences between all of the different models because they popped up. There was like 3 or 4 of them. That was very confusing. I found out about the Z1 Extreme chip. And then I put it in my mind, I'm like, anything that has a Z1 Extreme chip is good. And then I found the prices that were online and I checked how much the prices go down whenever there's big deals like Prime Day or Black Friday. And then I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't mind buying products used. That's not an issue I have. So I checked on eBay. I found it for $400. I grabbed it from there for that price. But some people don't want to buy something off of eBay, which I completely understand. Open box items are also available if you want to save some money there. But some people just want to buy something brand new. So then at that point, you kind of want to just get a feel for when deals are offered and when they're not. It's not a very easy thing to do. It's just unfortunately not that straightforward. But I will say that I have now used to some extent over the past few months my Legion Go, which is the original Legion Go with the controllers that detach. I've used a friend's Legion Go S, which I believe was available for between $500 or $600 during Black Friday. And I helped him set up all his emulators on there, and it natively runs SteamOS, and he absolutely adores that thing. And I was actually very close to buying one of those, but I wanted the Windows because I wanted to mess around with that a bit, and I figured later on I could always just install SteamOS if I really wanted to. Plus, I wanted the detachable controllers. I also wanted the kickstand that it has on the back of it. You know, because the Legion Go S doesn't have that. Even though the Legion Go S does have more RAM, at least the model that he has. Because there's also the cheaper model, which is the Z2 Go Legion Go S. You see how confusing this gets. The Z2 Go is stronger than the Steam Deck, and sometimes you might be able to get to a close price to the Steam Deck, especially now because the LCD is not available. So it's like, how valuable is the OLED screen to you? Which I know for a lot of people it is very valuable, but is it worth $550 plus for something that's not as powerful, but the screen is gorgeous? And that's very much going to be a personal preference for a lot of people. I've used the Xbox ROG Ally, the cheaper white one. I thought it was fine. Like, it's very comfortable to use. The battery life was much better than I thought. We were able to run a lot of things on 1080p at 120 frames per second. Now, my nephew was playing Spider-Man on there. It looked great. Like, great for a handheld device, especially. But, you know, when they announced that thing, it was like, what, $600 or $700? It's way too much. But if he's able to get it for $380, that's what I believe that's the price he got it for. It's hard to argue against that, right? Because I think you're getting a performance that's worth the price point. And for some people, they'll just be like, well, the price doesn't matter. I just want the best thing available on the market within this budget, right? And at that point, they just go to the store and buy what they want to buy. And that works for a lot of people, but it's not me. I was like this when I was buying laptops before. Like, anytime one of my nieces or nephews or sisters or any family member needed to buy a laptop, they'd message me. They'd be like, hey, which laptop should I buy? And then I got to start going through the whole thing where I look at all the different laptops available and what the prices are and what you're getting for the additional $100 and what you're not. And it's always tedious just buying anything that's computer related. But in my experience, at least, it is always worth it. It's just a matter of you putting in some research. I don't want to recommend a specific device to anybody, right? I think this is something that you should do your own research on to figure it out. But I will say that a good place to start is to just Google best handheld gaming PC right now and follow the channels and follow the reviews. Not necessarily the biggest channels, because a lot of times, you think there's a little bit of money involved in that while they're recommending specific items. But you'll find some of the smaller channels that do a pretty good outline on a lot of the stuff. You might find a used Steam Deck LCD available nearby. That probably is going to be your best option if you can get it for cheap. And hey, you might just find out that you're okay with a Steam Deck OLED. That's the easiest thing to buy. It's straight from Valve's website. You know their customer service is going to be great. And don't be afraid to return stuff. For all of this stuff, you can buy it. If you find that it's too complicated or too intimidating or not worth the price that you spent, usually you can return it within 30 days. And that's not a bad thing. It's a very good practice to try things and determine if you like them or not and return them. That's why there are return windows available. But again, I cannot recommend a specific device for you It's up to you to figure out what you need, what your budget is, and what you're looking for out of a gaming device before you determine what you would like to buy. And I've already done a video on my Legion Go. I might do a little bit of a deeper one, kind of an updated one, because I've done a little bit more with it now. But even if I make that video, that's not going to be me trying to advertise that people should go out and buy the Legion Go. It's just to kind of showcase my setup and why I enjoy it as much as I do. Got it? Got it. What do you guys think of the setup, by the way? I know it took some of your advice. I zoomed out the camera a bit. I try to bring my hands into the picture more. I'm adding some stuff. Oh, no, it's mirrored. Wario's sitting over there. And my Manchester United pillow is there too. Every day I'm just going to add one thing to the background and let you guys spot it by yourself. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will catch you on the next one.